Hey everyone, this morning we're going to focus on a passage of scripture that you may or may not be familiar with. We're going to be in Matthew chapter 14. And if you have a Bible, you can go there or app or something like that and you want to open up there or just listen as we go through it. We're going to be in Matthew chapter 14 and I'm going to be picking up in verse 22. So immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone, but the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. This is verse 25. During the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid." This is the area, verse 28 is really where I want to focus in on this morning. Verse 28, "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. When he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Verse 31, immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" As we look at this passage, one of the things I want to draw out of here, and there's a lot of life lessons that we can pull out of here, and even a lot of things that we can talk through in this passage. But the thing I want to talk about here this morning is the focus on Christ. And you may or may not have heard that talk through this passage before, but I think right now, especially in the world around us, there's a lot of temptation to take our focus off of Christ. And we can see that Satan uses many things in this day and age, especially during the coronavirus. Take away the coronavirus, we still have a lot of things that Satan is using to distract our focus on Christ. And, you just think about the situation right now, some of the things that might be pulling your focus off of Christ: anxiety, worry, about the sickness, about you getting sick, about others in your family that might be sick, isolation during this time, maybe feeling that sense of loneliness, depression, the things of this world, maybe unemployment. A lot of those things Satan uses to try to pull our attention off of Christ and off of the focus of what it should be at this time and throughout our lives. If you look at this passage of Scripture, verse 28 again, verse 30, when he saw the wind, he was afraid and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." In the midst of this, what happens is Peter takes his focus off of Christ and he puts it on his surroundings or his circumstances or the situations that he's in. And unfortunately, when he does that, he begins to sink. And at that moment, he cries out to Jesus, "Please save me." A number of years ago when I was in high school, I think it was my senior year, I had just recently got my license. And as I was pulling out of the parking lot, it was a little bit dark out, and I see a classmate of mine to the right side. I'm driving my car, a beautiful 91 Ford Explorer, and I'm driving my car, and to my right I look and I see a classmate of mine, and being the friendly, nice guy that I am, I said, "Hey, I'm going to wave to her and say hi." So as I look over to my right and I see her and I wave and I yell out the window, I say her name, all of a sudden I hear a thud. So immediately I start to get scared, and it was a Wednesday night back in the day when we had a lot of fellowship and things going on. So what happened was I was getting a little nervous about everything that was going on, and once I heard that thud, so I got out of the car quickly, and I looked under the car, and under the car, wedged under my car, it's funny now, wedged under my car was a sign that said, "Watch Children." And what I had inadvertently done was, when I took my eyes off of where I was going and waved to my classmate, I actually ran over that sign. Now, it's funny and comical to think of it now that, the sign was under there, but, God forbid, it could have been a kid, it could have been an adult, it could have been something else more serious. And when I took my eyes off of where I was going and my focus got taken off of where I was heading, it started to go bad. And it's the same thing here with Peter. He takes his focus off of Christ and he puts it on his circumstances. He keeps his eyes on the waves and the struggles around him. He was more concerned about the waves than he was about Jesus. And sometimes we get that way in our lives, where our focus is taken off of Christ. One of the other stories I just want to reference real quick is back in 2 Chronicles. And if you're familiar with this passage or not, great passage of Scripture. Jehoshaphat is basically in a situation where he's king of Judah, And at this time, his messengers, his people come to him saying, hey, listen, we're about to be attacked. There's a great host around us that's going to be coming, and we're going to be under siege and get attacked soon. And I'm not going to go into it greatly because I want to leave some suspense for you. But in this passage of Scripture, Jehoshaphat turns to the people and basically encourages them to put their focus on God and have God take them through this battle and this struggle. In fact, this is the verse, this is 2 Chronicles 20, verse 12, says this, O our God, will you not judge them? For we have no power to face this vast army that is attacking us. We do not know what to do, here's the great part, but our eyes are upon you. Isn't that a great passage of Scripture? We don't know what to do, but our eyes are upon you. During this time, I'd encourage you to completely focus on Christ, not the circumstances surrounding you. I know it's difficult, and the struggles sometimes are great. But I'd encourage you as believers in Jesus Christ to turn your focus on Christ and to not take the focus off of him. Keep your eyes focused on him, your hearts focused on him during this time. Tony Evans has a great quote that I'll leave you with. He says, only when Peter adjusted his focus back on Jesus did he receive the divine intervention he desperately needed. Have a great day. God bless you.